Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Aloha. My name is Sharon Hurd. I'm co-chair along with my co-director, Don Chang, as the for the Hawaii Invasive Species Council. And this is the meeting for the November 26, 2025 Interagency Council meeting. And it is, Patrick, the time?
It is 1:03 p.m.
Calling to order at 1:03 p.m. Thank you, sir. We are holding this meeting as a hybrid meeting. Some of us are in person at the Kalanimoku Building Boardroom in Honolulu, and we are also holding this meeting remotely via Zoom and can be watched live on the HISC YouTube channel. This is a public meeting, and members of the public have the opportunity to submit written testimony or oral testimony on the agenda items. You can use the raised hand function to provide oral testimony when the agenda item comes up, or if you are on YouTube, please state in the comments that you want to provide oral testimony, and his support staff will provide you with the Zoom link. When you enter, please be sure to keep your camera off and microphone muted until the council calls on you for public testimony. We ask that the members of the public testify on agenda items. Limit your testimony to 3 minutes so that we can get to everyone. For all meeting participants, I would like to stress the importance of speaking slowly, clearly, and directly into your microphone. Before speaking, please state your name and identify yourself for the record. So now we're proceeding with the actual meeting. Sorry, they provided me with a packet. The council may go into executive session pursuant to section 92(5)(a)(4) Hawaii Revised Statutes in order to consult with its attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the council's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Introductions from the council members in attendance and then those joining online. We have in attendance from DLNR, Co-Chair Don Chang.
Present.
And who else is here? Present?
I'm with DBED for Mary Alice.
Mary Alice Evans, proxy is Rachel
Rachel
Beasley. Thank you.
Yep.
Here. Myself, Sharon Hurd from the Department of Agriculture, and online we have DOH. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, everybody. Matt Carano with the Department of Health, Environmental Health Services Division on behalf of Kathy Ho.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. In person, we also have Department of Transportation.
I am
Dexter.
here
Thank you, Dexter.
and not alone.
And not alone. So we have on UH.
Aloha, Phyllis Shimabukuro Geyser on behalf of Dean Parwinder Grewa.
Hey, Phyllis. So we have full attendance by the voting members. All 6 of us are here. Next, can our legislative members or staff of the legislative member introduce themselves, please? Starting with representative for Senate President.
Not present.
Not present. Okay, next we have Representative Luke Evslin from Kauai. Not present. Okay, representative for Senator Mike Gabbard. Representative Lisa Martin. Representative L. Cochran. Moving on to Senator Linda Coit. Senator Lorraine Inoue. And Representative Kirsten Kahaloa.
Claire Ronquillo on behalf of Representative Kirsten Kahaloa.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, moving on to the next item, approval of the minutes. We're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is to approve the minutes. For today's meeting, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve because at the last meeting, we did not have proper representation to approve the May HISC meeting minutes. Regarding approval of the minutes for the members, we ask that even if you were not present at the meeting of May 28th, it would be okay, let's say, to approve the minutes, even if you were not at the meeting. Apparently, at the last few meetings, it was deferred because of that.
Right. Largely because you are representative of the various voting council members. And we don't want to prolong the not approving of the minutes longer than, at this point, 6 months. It is best to approve it now, and should there be any need to amend the minutes in the future, we can always come back to that.
Okay, and the speaker at the, just now was my oversight, not introducing, Patrick Chi, who is the current coordinator for the HISC.
Right. I'm the invasive species coordinator, stepping in for Chelsea Arnott. So,
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so any discussion on the minutes for May 28th, 2025 with the note that, oh, I'm sorry, has to do with the September meeting. So the September minutes have some amendments, but any discussion for the minutes of May 28th, 2025, public discussion or from the council?
No.
Hearing none. I will use the roll call as the basis for this unanimous approval of the minutes for May 28th. Oh, did I need to get a motion to approve?
I know that Mary Alice, she just does that sort of
Yeah.
like consent,
So-
but yeah, I know, I like to have a motion so that there's a
The
record.
attorney in the room says she likes to have a
Well,
motion.
The chairperson of the board, so I I move that we approve the minutes of May 28th, 2025.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you, Don. Any recusals or abstentions or objections? Seeing none. The minutes are approved unanimously. Okay, moving on to the discussion for the minutes of September 29th, 2025 meeting. I do have a note here that the minutes of that meeting.
yeah, so the minutes of that meeting that went out in the packet, there were some minor changes to it, and you folks should have in front of you the amended version of that. We essentially would like to submit the amended version. It mostly just has some changes for format and a couple of words that were not quite right in the original that went out in the packet. So we'd like to submit that as the minutes for September
29th.
to be going into the record. So, yeah.
Okay, and Patrick, is this is the version posted on the website?
No, so this one, the version that went out with the packet was the one that didn't have the letter.
Okay, all right.
So
So,
the one that will be going out later, to go on our website, will have the amended.
the minor
minor
substantive, yeah.
revisions.
Okay, thank
So
you for that.
So if I may, Pat, so they were non-substantive changes in the revised
Right.
draft of
Yeah.
the September.
I mean, otherwise, the language in there
Okay.
is the same,
Okay.
so.
Okay, and I'm sure if there's a problem with that, our Deputy Attorney General, Danica Patel, will tell us
She
otherwise.
Harriet Patel?
She did, she
Yeah.
did get me. So, and she's on the line, so I think non-substantive changes, we can approve them as modified. And,
Well-
and the new, and
And
the
you have
amended.
the modified, the amended version in front of you folks, so you can choose to go with that one if you.
Okay. May I have a motion for the amended version?
I so move that the minutes be approved, the amended version, modified version of the September 29, 25 meeting notes be approved.
And I can second again.
Thank you, Don and Dexter. And so any objections or recusals? Seeing none, the amended version of the minutes is unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the next item on the agenda. That would be agenda item 4, the legislative requests for 2026 legislative session by the HISC department. This is a status update, and we'll be calling on the members of the council to give us any legislative requests for the 2026 session that you can share. Okay, starting with DLNR Forestry and Wildlife, represented by Rob Hoff.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Rob Hoff, Protection Forester with Division of Forestry and Wildlife. And as you know, the governor hasn't released his budget yet, but I just thought I would talk about some of the priorities that we're hoping to address in the next legislative session, either through the governor's budget or in meetings with the legislature. So first I wanted to mention that we did submit a number of invasive species management projects as part of the Green Fee Bill request, which will go to the governor's Green Fee Bill committee, which, as I understand it, they will make a recommendation to the legislature. And there were about from DOFA, there were 10 proposals that specifically had invasive species management as their focus. And one of those was specifically for additional funding to fund priority projects of the HISC. Some other areas that were covered in those requests include mosquito abatement for protection of Hawaii's native forest birds, biological control, and yeah, I mentioned the HISC program funding. And then in addition to those green fee proposals, the division has some other priorities that they'll be taking to the legislature. One is rapid ohia death. The 5-year strategic response plan is in the final stages of being complete. We hope to have that done actually as early as next week. And we'll be taking that to the legislature and talking about some of the new initiatives that are identified in that plan that will need funding, as well as some of the gaps that might be created in reduction of federal funds that have supported the rapid ohia death response in the past. We're also putting together a budget for statewide predator control in the context of protecting bird species throughout the state. And also talking to legislatures about the need for biological control research facilities, which it limits the biocontrol work that can be done protecting both natural resources, agriculture, the other HISC priorities. And I think I will leave it at that.
Thank you. And just a side note, those are all issues that I think are worthy of support. Yeah, if they come through. Is there Elizabeth? Oh, she's online. Calling on DLNR's Aquatic Resources representative.
Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, I just have one update from Aquatic Resources. We also had a request through the Green Fee for funding for a project called Enhanced Biosecurity through Eradication of Aquatic Invasive Species. So this includes a component of invasive species removal, I believe invasive algae, and then also invasive soft coral removal, and then also funding for fishing tournaments for removing invasive fish.
Well, thank you. Reporting on behalf of DAB, the one for invasive is pretty much similar to, we're supporting the predator control bill, of course. And we are doing a biocontrol bill as well. Still working through it, the details with the legislators. But we have other legislative requests, not necessarily directly related to invasive species control. The next one on the list is DBET.
Don't have any updates at this time.
Thank you. Calling on UH.
We did submit one proposal, CIP, concerning biosecurity, biocontrol facility. It did not make it into the Border Regions package.
Okay. Thank you, Phyllis. Matt, Department of Health.
We don't have any proposed that are going to be associated kind of or affect, I think, HISC right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And DOT.
Nothing as well.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to next agenda item 5, which is an update on the implementation of the interagency MOU for high priority pests presented by Patrick Chi.
Aloha, everyone. let me get set up and we'll start. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Chi, and I'm the interim invasive species coordinator. Or for those of you who have been with the HISC these past few years, I'm the interim Chelsea. So I'm here on behalf of the Hawaii Invasive Species Council to present an update on the high priority test memorandum of understanding. So this is the basic outline of what we'll be talking about today. Just talking about who are the MOU partners, what are the features of the MOU, and then some subparts to that, as well as our next steps. The MOU, of course, was signed back in April 2024. The signatories are Sharon Hurd, chair of the HDOA, or sorry, DAB, I need to update that. Don Chang, chair of DLNR, and then president of the University of Hawaii, who was David Lassner at the time and who is now Wendy Hensel. So the three major pests continue to be little fire ants, coconut rhinoceros beetle, and coqui frogs. And besides the three signatories, the MOU includes these active partners who play an integral role in managing these high priority invasive pests. So these include the invasive species coordinator, invasive species committees, including the managers and staff of these invasive species committees, and the coordinating group on alien pest species, the Hawaii Ant Lab, the CRP response, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and also members of the DAB, plant quarantine and pest control. Also the Department of Land and Natural Resources, branch managers and staff. So these entities perform different roles, including inspections and quarantine, and like the ISC and CGAPs, they fill certain gaps within our invasive species work, as well as University of Hawaii doing research and CRP response and how specifically for their species. Yeah. All right. So the goal of this MOU is largely to carry out prevention of new infestations, the containment and eradication of incipient infestations, and the control and containment of existing infestations through early detection and rapid response by all the signatories and partners to this MOU. So essentially it's, to keep the things that are here from getting worse and things that aren't here from coming in. And the features of this MOU are that there are matrices outlining the roles and responsibilities, response plans, data sharing, research, and communications. There are 12 matrices in all. The 12 correspond to response plans, and this is for the three pests times the 4 counties, therefore 12 plans. And then there are 3 statewide response plans, one for each of the species. So the matrices are completed, and the response plans, including survey and treatment protocols, are in progress. So the LFA ones have all been completed for all islands. The CRB ones, there is one for Maui, which will be the template for the other counties. And there's one for Oahu, which will be the template for all the others in all the other counties. So Have the response plans been used? Yes. The LFA partners have indicated that they are helpful in facilitating communication. And the CRB and COKI ones are, as I said, still in development. So the response plan set out actions and steps and roles, responsibilities for addressing each pest per island. And ultimately, a little of both has happened. So draft plans have been created, and they're being used as templates for the rest. One of the most important parts of this, of course, is data sharing. The MOU requires data sharing standards and protocols to share data. And there's been they had set out a 12-month deadline, but this has not been completed just yet. Of course, the benefits of having data sharing is to have the same data points and understanding of what partners are doing, and of course, sharing survey and treatment maps. The challenges, of course, include ensuring partners have software that communicates, collecting the same kinds of data points, ability to share private data that is personal information or residents' businesses, and the HISC when the MOU started didn't have its own data person, but we have now hired Brian Tucker, who is part-time, helping us address our data sharing. Of course, Act 236 asked for a dashboard to go live in December of 2025, and DAB is ahead of schedule. They just released it. So we saw a demo of it on Monday. And if anyone is interested, they can go to this website, biosecurity.hawaii.gov, and check it out. It currently only has DAB data, which is a gap. And we are, of course, hopefully through this MOU, make that possible to have all of that information there for everyone to see. All right, research. Of course, the MOU highlights the need for continued research for work in the lab and in the field. And the MOU states that partners will inform the signatories annually of the need for priority research projects. To my knowledge, this has not happened yet, but should be discussed in future meetings. And of course, this doesn't mean that we haven't addressed research. In fact, that there were how many research projects?
About 30.
So about 30 research projects that were given funds this year through FY26 funding that came through from the legislature. So really good. We're working on getting, of course, more so that we can find out more and do more. So, let's see. Communication is an agreed upon feature of the MOU, and the partners also approved the establishment of 3 subgroups to help lead the implementation of the MOU. The 3 subgroups have designated leads and are in the process of organizing in preparation for the first meeting since their establishment. The leads will also create the scope and goals of the subgroup and propose to the partners. And in a survey of the partners earlier in 2025, the responders indicated that communications is their biggest strength. So we are talking with each other. The next step, of course, is making sure that actions come out of it. Right? So our next steps, there will be a deep dive meeting of the MOU on the Kona CRB issue in January, tentatively. And then we'll be finalizing, of course, the CRB and COKI response plans, and the subgroups will help to implement the MOUs, of course. So the signatories will update the HISC on the MOU implementation, of which one of those updates is here today. So I think that's pretty much all of it. If you have any questions, here's my email and my phone number. Please feel free to reach me there. Of course, you can also talk to me right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Patrick, for being such a wonderful, prepared, available New Chelsea, interim Chelsea. My comment is shout out to Hawaii County. Mayor Alameda has been very reactive and participatory in the action group. I've not attended the meetings, but I'm deep dive briefed on it after every meeting. And I do know that the mayor has extended the voluntary 90-day stop movement of green waste to be within the area that it's been identified. We are working on the interim rule. One of the things that you mentioned is the research projects. Some of our legislation is pending the results of the funding, where the funding is going. I think it's 4 million that you're distributing.
Right, I mean, there was kind of two parts of it. Some of it is the standing funding for the HISC, but there is also the additional 4.25 million that came in from the Act 236. We are still waiting for BNF, the Budget and Finance, to actually release the funds to us. So we're hoping that comes soon. But
you did request it, of course.
We requested it. It's just, up to Budget and Finance to release it to us.
So my comment on that is that we are pending, we want to do Queensland Longhorn Beetle. I mean, that is an incipient, we consider it right now, and we need to get it, and there is a biocontrol. So the funding would then propagate the nematode, and then we can do our industry education, how to, eradicate it. But we can do that without the proposal. We just don't want to duplicate it. If your proposal that gets funded is to, I'm assuming PBARC, Roxana, to the nematode. We don't want to duplicate what you're doing there. So if anybody is if I'm the ledges, I guess it's Claire. If you can kind of like urge the movement, at least release the funds so that we can fund some of these proposals and know where we're going. That would help the legislation that we need to prepare.
To ask for it.
Correct, thank you, right. So that's my comment. On this, any other comments from the public or from the board or council? No. No, but very good, very good. The subgroups, we have a lot of work to do. With HISC, it's all good work. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 6. Next agenda item is the submittal requesting the council to provide guidance to the legislature on the transfer of the Hawaii Invasive Species Council to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity by January 1st, 2030, under Act 236, Section 7. This agenda item specifically addresses the transfer of HISC over to the department. I do want to point out that none of this discussion and guidance should differ from what is the law of the land right now, which is what is in Act 236. We're not going to challenge what the legislature has mandated. We'll have that opportunity in the next 5 years. But the discussion today is to work with whatever's within the law and then provide guidance on that. So starting, I think I have a presentation by Co-Chair Don Chang.
I'm going to defer to, is it Rob, are you guys or Pat, are you going to put this together? So this is, so I appreciate that, Sharon. I think maybe Rob, would you like to present this, our recommendations? And these, and I want to say these are not DLNR's recommendations. These are HISC. So it's Pat and it's the HISC that are putting this together.
Well,
HISC is administratively attached to DLNR. We do provide staffing for, but because I sort of addressing Chair Hurd's comment about this, we're not here to question Act 236. That is the legislative mandate. We are here to implement that. I think some of these recommendations that the HISC staff are coming up with are primarily more for clarification. And this was really at the request of Representative Kahaloa, who asked that if there are proposed recommendations for the legislature, I don't think we're making any recommendations that is changing the intent of the legislature, which is to transfer biosecurity responsibilities to DAB. But I think it's, and it's a little kind of gray area because HISC is staying with DLNR until the year 2030. So we want to make sure that we've got capacity and there's clarity on what our role is during this transition period, so that when that transition occurs, we are transitioning a either an intact HISC program that can be transferred directly to HISC, or we can see clarifications on if there are other recommendations. So I just want to present that sort of overarching, that this isn't DLNR, this is really HISC recommendations. So with that, Rob, if you and Pat want to provide some specific, discuss the 5 specific recommendations that are coming forward.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
So these are just for your consideration, things that we base these on things that, you know, have been discussed in the past largely. I don't think you'll
We have
see anything
Yes, it's
anything new here. In
It's
fact,
a-
all of these things were probably mentioned at previous meetings. But we wanted to make sure that they were put before you for consideration to either act on or not act on.
Right.
So the first thing,
And I just want to also
Yeah, please.
mention, so thank you, Rob, that these recommendations were before Chelsea left. At our last HISC meeting, she had actually brought up a lot of these recommendations or issues and points. And as a result of that, I think the team went back and looked at in response to Rep. Kahaloa, because it was specifically at the last meeting where Rep. Kahaloa did ask us, hey, do you have any specific recommendations for clarifications on Act 236? Again, we're not changing the substance or the intent of the act. But
He was asking not just for 236, but for in general, you know, what are recommendations from the HISC for potential legislation in the future?
Okay.
So these are just kind of a starting point, really. So that, you know, potentially we can make some recommendations, you know, at her request. So yeah.
yeah, I'm happy to go through that. Okay with you, Pat?
Sure. That's fine.
Okay, the council, great. So these were also, you know, created by Chelsea before she left and then, you know, tweaked thereafter. So the first one relates to HISC administration, and the reason for this one is there were different versions of Act 236 and some confusion about the relationship of HISC with DLNR.
Different versions of Act 236, not the one that's posted?
No, that when it was, sorry, excuse me, what would have been HB 427 before it was approved and signed.
But we agree that the act is the act.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and we, and one thing that's in the act that I think that we want to certainly retain is that HISC is a cabinet level interagency council. And it transfers, when it transfers, it's immediate administrative support by DAB, and it remains that sort of interagency council that it is today. Number 2 is the transition plan. So DOFA has staff, helped staff HISC basically using its positions that pre-existed to HISC. And we think that, you know, it's important that DAB anticipates, you know, what that need is going to be.
No positions are coming over, we understand.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
none of our positions,
Right.
but yes.
so the second one relates to identifying, you know, positions that will support DAB, or excuse me, HISC, when it moves over to DAB in 2025, because it has been, you know, a significant load for DOFA to administer. So it's an important thing to consider as it transitions.
Absolutely.
Essentially, my position as the invasive species
Right.
coordinator, you know, had pre-existed the HISC, but when the HISC was created, my position was essentially loaned, you know, to the
Right.
HISC in order to make sure that
It
this,
was-
you know, would take off. So.
And we eventually want it back, but we also recognize we have to be part of that transition. So I think DLNR's is, we want to make this as smooth a transition to DAB as
Absolutely.
possible. So I think the recommendation by Chelsea my recollection at the last meeting was actually to create a very independent standalone HISC entity where you had an exec, what did she call, like an executive director?
Right.
I think she was looking at sort of ADC as a motto or one motto,
Right.
not the motto, but one. So you had ADC and a lot of the RCUH positions that we have, it would become more permanent positions and then so that when the transition is made in 2030, that entire team would move over to DAB so that there would be a smooth transition rather than having DAB start from scratch on 2030, this whole team would move over. So I think that's what we
That
were
was
looking
the
at.
For the
suggestion.
record, we have not asked for any positions.
Yes, no,
Okay.
no,
No.
neither have we.
Well,
But
and
we-
that was part of the, last, meetings, it was the middle, right? It was creating this, support staff.
Correct, correct.
And
But
so,
we
uh,
participated in those meetings and made clear we're not asking for any positions. No, we respect Dawn's request to keep the position she has,
right.
and we agree.
No,
Okay.
but what we're saying is that, that could be, part of the request of the legislature to look at the suggestion of this HISC support staff and say, okay, well, it is time to make those positions, something that is realistic. And it would, of course, take modifying the HISC law itself to include, an executive director and, the support staff. But that's, that can be done, it's just a matter of, making sure that the legislature knows that's what the HISC might want.
Because that, my understanding is part of the $4.25 million that that's for the HISC operations is also, so we're not asking for new positions,
That's
but we're
what we-
asking for that, the money that's being so, and I guess that would be that's gonna be number 4. We'll talk about that. But that that the positions that we have under here, they become more permanent positions rather than just RCUH positions. So I think we're not proposing any new positions, but we are proposing through the HISC council support to we're not expanding any additional funding, but that we be able to use this funding either directly through the legislature change that or through what do we
But they
call
would
that?
be his, they would be his position.
Yeah, they would be his position.
Sure.
That's correct.
Right.
That's
And
correct.
the only, from what I understand, the only body that can create positions is the
That's
legislature.
correct.
So
That's
Right.
the
correct.
process is going to be,
Yeah, the legislature, I mean, and we'll have more of this discussion later, I'm sure. But the legislature would essentially have to change the HISC law in order to include, positions in theory. Because right now it doesn't have.
but we're not
anything like that.
asking for any positions to come over, remember?
No, but the HISC itself would have to have positions built into the
Right.
law.
So as to assume, I get it, I got
Sure.
it.
Can I get clarification
Recognizing
really quick?
DOT?
Thank you. So we're talking about two different levels of staffing, and so just to get through my confusion. On number 1, you're talking about positions like Rob or even maybe yourself, Patrick, that are supervising number 4, actually HISC staff. Is that
No,
correct?
no, they're staying with DLNR.
Okay, so number 1 is talking about the cabinet level interagency thing.
Okay.
Which is what the HISC is. But number 2 is talking about the fact that
I didn't know.
the
what that
HISC
was.
itself technically doesn't have staff.
Okay. We are the cabinet.
And so
Oh,
in order for
okay.
it to function, the HISC has been borrowing staff like myself in order to run the HISC administratively. So this is trying to just, make a discussion as far as whether or not there's plans in place for either DAB to make positions in order to do similar to what we're doing here, or asking the legislature itself to add into the HISC positions that will be state positions, essentially.
Got it.
Executive director and others.
So it's not borrowed from DLNR positions. Got it.
Not borrowed from DLNR,
Right
and in
now,
the future.
right now,
not
there are
borrowed
just,
from
They're all-
there are no HISC positions,
Got it.
Right.
zero.
Got it.
But they have DLNR.
Got
So
it.
we're making clear that, DLNR, we're not taking any DLNR positions,
it.
but we're entertaining at this moment, creating a separate,
Essentially,
Yeah. Yeah, got
the discussion last time was essentially making like an attached agency.
Right.
Somewhat like, the ABC, right? Essentially saying, these positions are in this attached agency and they all move, whenever,
Right.
this transition happens. Right?
Understood. Thank you.
Mhm.
Great. You want me to continue?
Sure.
Any more discussion on that one? Okay, I think that number 4 kind of
Yeah.
dovetails with that too, because it's there are specific HISC projects that have been supported over the years that are providing critical functions to the overall biosecurity program in the state. And those include the 643pest.org pest reporting system. The HISC staff channels those calls into the proper agency so that they are quickly followed up on. Includes the weed risk assessment. Hawaii has one full-time risk assessor that evaluates plant species on the risk that they are to becoming invasive in Hawaii. And what was the third program that I'm forgetting about here? Poem, thank you. The Forts
Important to me.
Tree Monitor.
Very important to me.
Very critical, especially the DOT, yes. So there's also staff who are monitoring our ports of entry for high priority invasive species. So that funding we'll need to figure out how that aspect of it gets transitions, with the council. And then finally, the 5th one relates to funding. And I think it's important that this increase in funding that we received through 236 becomes recurring because it really was enormously helpful to have that increase with the budgeting process this year. Typically when we have the budget meetings, we're having to talk about, layoffs if projects don't get enough. And this year we actually had funding where we could spread it around to research projects that hopefully will make us more effective in the future. So we wanted to put that in there as well for consideration, to make that recurring, as well as to have it go with whatever the administrative agency that the HISC is attached to, so that we don't have to do funding transfers during the fiscal year.
Yeah, so Don, I think nothing has changed really. We're implementing 236. So the funding moves over to DAB in 2027. So it'll be our legislative mandate to go ahead and ask for the funding as we move forward into 2027. So while the administrative control moves over in 2030, the funding moves over in 2027. So it's kind of unusual. I think we've had this discussion before, but that's the law as it stands today. And I've not heard anything to the contrary, although I've heard rumors that that's, something's going on there.
So we did hear from Rep. Kahaloa, and maybe Claire can clarify. I think when she was here, there was a question, was that, she said that wasn't her intent. Now that may have been the full body's intent, but she had indicated that the funding was intended to stay with DLNR until 2030. But again, I think that was one of the questions she asked us, is whether she should change that or not. So we've provided 2 options, either amend Act 236 to change the funding that it stays with DLNR, or DLNR and DAB enter into an agreement to journal voucher the funds from to DLNR from DAB.
In
No,
2027.
2027,
Yeah.
right, right. So, but either way, because we're going to continue the responsibility over
understand.
his,
Mhm.
so it's whatever, it's either we enter into an agreement with DAB, or the legislation is changed to clarify that. So I think we're
The
going to.
nice thing, can I add?
Yeah,
The nice thing, maybe the dovetail here is that January 1, 2027 is when the new deputy director of biosecurity is in place. And maybe then that the position would be then involved in the direction of the funding. Maybe, I mean, that's an added consideration, but Claire's online. Claire, did you want to move forward and unmute yourself and comment on this?
Hi, Chair.
Oopsie.
The intent was that HISC will be absorbed by DAB, but other than that, she still stands on what she had previously mentioned in the last meeting.
Which was,
Oh, hang on.
I'm sorry, I think
Yeah.
Don clarified that the funding would then be journal vouchered from DLNR over to DAB in 2027.
Mhm.
That was one of the options, so Claire, I guess, I know when she sat here at one of the HISC meetings, she said she was surprised and she didn't
Mhm.
realize that the bill didn't continue the funding directly to DLNR. So I think we're gonna leave it up to Rep. Kahaloa.
Mhm.
We've got
With
two
no law,
options.
right?
Either it's no change, the act stays the same and we'll work out something with DAB on the journal voucher, or two, she may choose to change it. But I don't think any of us are recommending a change to the statute,
Yeah.
but
thank
it's just
you.
the clarification.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the,
Yeah.
for the purposes of this meeting, we are not objecting or questioning the legislature's wisdom in passing Act 236. It is what it is, and we accept that.
Okay, sounds good.
Question.
Go ahead,
Will,
Dix.
will DLNR, because sometimes funding in a new year and now with one more hop to get to DLNR, will DLNR be able to absorb the operating costs for the initial term? Because what I would hate to see is my
Right.
port of entry,
Right.
to be totally selfish in this question, to be stopped from August, September, right, to then get implemented in October.
That's a
Should I be
really good
concerned?
question. And no, that's a really good question. I think that's something that we need to discuss, because everybody's budget is going to be really tight.
Right.
And so we at DLNR are going to have to figure out, one, do we even have enough funds for our own mission projects? But I am optimistic that we will
Oh,
figure
yeah.
this out with
I'm
Deb.
Okay.
wildly optimistic, wildly optimistic.
If
Great.
not, there will be some very
That's why I'm sitting here so
disgruntled
calm. It's like,
people.
it's the law. Let's move with the law.
But, okay,
Okay?
Thank you.
okay.
Dexter, wildly optimistic.
I will stay wildly optimistic as well.
Tempered with the reality
then
of,
we
we
will
better
have
make sure
backup
we get
plans
that
Yeah,
covered.
I'm
as
kind of a
necessary.
Pollyanna here. I think
Yes.
that's my reputation.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay,
Those were just suggestions for your
okay.
consideration and for you to discuss, and that,
I don't have that. Okay, so
makes sense.
It was
it was
on
on
You
the
don't have
agenda.
Yeah, it was on the
further
original one.
questions
That
for
was
me?
done.
It's Gold Marcy
You can
here.
pass this to.
I think there
She can read
might have been public
Yeah, this
testimony
is-
as well.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is-
yeah,
So
thank
this is our
you.
recommendation.
Yeah,
Thank
in
you.
addition, there's one public testimony
Okay,
from CCAF.
oh, that's right.
Any representative from CGAPs on the submittal? That I have. Actually, there were two public testimonies, but one was just a comment.
Can I pass something out? This is attachment A from last, from the reorganization or the staff reorganization that you all voted to approve at the last meeting.
Yes.
I realize I should have
Jack, do you
attached
need
this
it?
to my testimony. It is, for those online, it is attachment 2, the submittal one for the September meeting.
And this is the one that Chelsea had.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
presented.
And this one is the one.
I'll
that-
take another.
Oh, of course.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully that, so this was what Chelsea put forward for the staff
Right.
reorganization. First, let me begin. Good afternoon, co-chairs, members of the council. My name is Stephanie Easley with the coordinating group on alien pest species. Very grateful for the opportunity to be here, especially the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Thank you for this. I'll try to be brief. Just want to highlight a few things from our written testimony. First is our gratitude and support for the excellence and leadership this council has provided for more than 20 years in the invasive species arena. We look forward to continuing that support during the transition years and to whatever form DAB takes after that, continuing that tradition of excellence and leadership. We support all of the recommendations that were just gone over for agenda item 6 for this meeting. And we note that the recommendation also allows for consideration of other recommendations as appropriate. We have 3 in our written testimony. We hope you'll consider them appropriate. The first is related to this organizational structure that this council voted to approve at the last September meeting. It does have at its head an executive director that would be a HISC employee, and it would be at the executive director level with a salary and carrying out executive director duties, which when you look at what HISC is charged with and what, just hearing in hearings and at the info briefing on Tuesday, like this place for the invasive species agencies to come together and coordinate and to have someone who can carry out these statutory responsibilities, to have a broad overview and to advise, consult, and coordinate all invasive species related activities in the state, like Chelsea was doing. It's at a very high level. And having a executive director would facilitate it during the transition years and after the transition when the council is in DAB. We proposed at the bottom of the first page of our testimony, legislative language for your consideration that would create that position within the HISC statute. And we hope you'll consider that recommendation going forward.
I have a question.
Yes.
When you fill these positions, should they be established? Would it be the DHERD process of hiring, the recruitment?
I'm going to say I don't know.
Okay.
The one that, and the position at this point that we are focused on, that CGAPS is focused on, is the executive director. Just having one staff person who's an actual director, like ADC, executive director.
I didn't see that in the discussion, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The hiring process would be independent within HISC, or would it be the state recruitment process?
It would be at the pleasure of the board, similar to ADC, and it would be, the salary would be determined by the board. And it would be an amendment in statute. So that would be the process that we propose for your consideration to recommend to the legislature.
But I believe, Sharon, these would be established positions. So they would be filled by the solicitation process, the HR process. But I think the intent is, at least my recollection of what Chelsea was providing, is that these are currently RCUH positions, and this is a DOFAL position.
But the person that's filling the position would then be subject to the recruitment process, or would they be absorbed into the?
So your question about, does it have to be established by the ledge? Yes.
Okay, that's
it
good
hasn't
enough.
been, but
Okay.
it has to be established by the ledge.
Got it.
Right. And
Thank you, Don.
Yep. You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Chair.
Yeah.
Clarification is greatly appreciated. And we propose some legislative text. It is based on ADC and other executive director positions that have been established by beginning at the bottom of page 1 of the testimony. Quickly, the second one is consistent with section 194-2. The council can advise the legislature on recommendations related to invasive species. During these transition years might be a good time to take a look at chapter 194. There's a number of things in there that are not being carried out by HISC, either because there's not capacity, potentially it's not clear what is intended, or maybe 20 years on, those things don't reflect what the invasive species response community would do now. And so we suggest a report from HISC and looking at chapter 194 to see how to conform what is in there with what the HISC actually does. And then the third one we'll call a housekeeping amendment, which proposes amending 194 to subsection B. Because currently it says the HISC is administratively attached to DLNR for administrative purposes only. That was not amended in Act 236. They just transferred it to DAB. So we propose an amendment to take effect January 1, 2030, that it is attached to DAB for administrative purposes only. So it's not transferred and it's still attached. It's just a
Yeah,
clarify.
I understand. I believe though that the law is the law.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's actually what I care about more than
Yeah, I
anything.
think the supposition that it was an unintentional omission, we have to say that, I disagree with that. I say that the law was presented as a very intentional law. And so we will work with it, but administrative purposes only means that for us, it means that we administer. Right? And so we administer according to the way that the new deputy director would be administering. I don't think that it should come over with the presumption that the old rules will apply. I think, whatever rules will apply into 2030 administratively. One of the discussions that Don and I had with Chelsea is the word autonomous. It does not appear anywhere within the legislation, so that will go away definitely. It is not an autonomous organization. It is an administratively attached organization. So I don't know what is intended by this. I was confused when I saw it.
Just so that it's clear that everything goes to DAB.
Because I think this, as I see, this one is the 194-2B. And this one may have been an oversight.
I think something's wrong.
No, it's because they changed DLNR and to DAB in almost every place else,
Right.
other than this one, which says, so the council shall be placed, so the existing
Oh, it
current
just-
language says, shall be placed with DLNR. And we're saying, no, after 2030, it really should go to DAB. And we
Yeah,
think that was
absolutely.
just, that probably was an
Housekeeping, okay.
inadvertent one, yeah, so I think that
No,
was.
I misread it. I thought that it was saying that it would be other than as written.
Oh,
Okay.
No,
got
no,
it.
no, I
just-
think it's just, yeah.
Just a housekeeping thing for
Yeah.
the clarity of
Yeah.
the law, like you said,
Yeah.
the law is the law, and that is what the legislature's intent is, and that's what's carried out. And to clarify that they transferred the functions and it's now attached to DAB.
Right.
I'm here if you have any questions, and thank you for your time and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you
Oh,
very
happy
much.
Thanksgiving, Stephanie.
Thank you
Um,
very much.
Any discussion on the testimony other than my misreading?
So let me just clarify, Stephanie, so CGAPS is recommending 3 additional recommendations. One, that the organizational structure that the HISC approved as shown in attachment 2 be included in be an additional, I guess it would be recommendation number 6 under, and that the other recommendation is that that there be changed section 194-2A10, that HISC provide a, okay, this one I wasn't real clear. Suggest that council consider proposing legislature request a report from HISC that includes, so what you're recommending is that HISC provide a report to the legislature?
Right. For the first one, our focus is on the executive director position.
Okay, just the executive
We
director.
think that having one position is realistic, to have an executive director that would be the continuity, be employed by you during the transition years, and then after it arrives at DAB to have that position, just one. The report, so, right now just seems like a time to look at this 20-year-old statute. For instance, one of the duties that HISC is responsible for is to identify and record all invasive species present in the state. I mean, that's the Bishop Museum, that's subject matter experts. That's, you're responsible to do that under the statute. HISC is not doing that because it would be all consuming, and probably it wouldn't really move the ball forward in terms of invasive species response.
Yeah, so,
So just a report to look at chapter 194 and make recommendations to the ledge on how to have this statute, because there's a lot of things in here that aren't actually being done
yeah,
to reflect what HISC does.
thank you, Stephanie. So, I don't know that this is an action item. It wasn't submitted on the agenda as an action item, but if it is, because you're calling for a motion, I'm going to ask for, as chair, co-chair, that we defer, because internally within the department, we are having discussions about the current reading of the statute and deciding what the best way to move forward. This is a little premature, in my opinion, to suggest that there should be an executive director. We haven't quite internally and collaboratively, talking with Don. So the council can certainly, call for a motion and regarding the issues raised, but I don't know what the motion would be, because I'm not comfortable in suggesting that this new plan move forward until we have more internal discussion. We've been kind of going line by line with the statute, saying that this needs to be done according to the statute. It hasn't been done yet. This doesn't need to be done, exactly what you said earlier. And we're not completed because we had this huge biosecurity briefing yesterday and a dashboard to post. So, but we had started and we're continuing. And if internally, we're going line by line and saying, what we can do and what we can't do, what should come over, what shouldn't come over, what is a duplication, what's not a duplication. And I think, speaking for DAB, we're not ready to make a recommendation on an organizational chart or anything other than what's in the law.
So if I may, Chair, I had a similar conversation with HISC as DLNR, because it was being viewed as a DLNR recommendation.
remember
And so
it.
I said, no, DLNR, I mean, so I would agree with you that that we wear different hats. You wear your DAB direct chair hat, I wear my DLNR chair hat. But in this context, we are co-chairs of HISC. So I'm actually, I think it is appropriate for HISC as a body, voting members here, to have a separate position from our respective DAB, DLNR, DOD, DBED, but as a collective body, because we do, and we have our own public meeting and we have received comments. I guess as a HISC body, I guess I'm of the view that it is appropriate for HISC to not necessarily take the same position as DAB or DLNR, but as HISC, what is our position as HISC? Because we should be advocating on behalf of HISC when we sit in here, not as DLNR or DAB, but as a HISC body. So I guess I am not as uncomfortable reviewing the recommendations that were provided by the HISC staff, and if appropriate, depending on how the rest of the HISC body feels.
I'm with you, Don. I just don't know what we're voting on.
So I think
there is no submittal in front of me. There's testimony.
no, I think there is a submittal. This is item 4. So it's suggestions for providing recommendations. Pat, is it listed as an action item?
So.
Because I know that we have in the past identified, we don't have anything under here as, you don't distinguish between action items,
No.
but it is here, but item number 6, it is submittal requesting the council to provide guidance to the legislature on the transfer of Hawaii Invasive Species
Right,
Council
and-
to DAB.
Right. So in my previous meetings, I've asked for the submittal and I guess I missed it. There is a submittal
There he is.
requesting approval of fiscal year 2026 Hawaii Invasive
It
Species
is
Council
this one,
budget.
submittal to Hawaii Invasive Species, and it's for me as co-chair of Hawaii Invasive.
I know, I
I
have it
should have
now.
read that as being more, it should have been just directly from HISC, not
I don't
necessarily from
remember
DLNR.
seeing that. So with that,
So,
I'm probably going to be up. Go ahead.
but yeah, I mean, as part of the staffing transition plan, I think that was, perceived as something that as an issue that, should be discussed, at the HISC as far as whether or not there is a need for there to be, a staff person that is assigned, or that is created by the legislature in order to administer the HISC. Because it has not operated with one, it's borrowed one, my position for 20 years, And, it is, potentially high time for the HISC to actually have a position assigned to it in order for it to move forward.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that, Patrick. I'm not comfortable with adopting a organizational plan that we were gonna ask that, I'm not comfortable with this plan. So what are we voting on?
Well,
Just-
actually, that was voted on last.
Or-
I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
Isn't this what the September meeting?
That's
Approved.
But
right.
now we're recommending this to be to the ledge, right? I think that's a separate action.
What happened in September is that the vote was to pursue this structure. as set
Within
out
HISC.
Within his.
I would have voted for that. Now,
But-
now I
But it
think this,
is, but the only way for us to pursue it is to seek legislative establishment of the positions.
and I'm okay with that, but I'm not okay with recommending that we have an executive director. Because I don't know if that's a position that would be, could be a coordinator. I mean, that's a position that is in place now.
But I think this is the organizational structure that the HISS
This is
voted
what we
on.
voted on.
And
Right.
so,
Okay, I'm sorry. So I'm willing, not willing, as co-chair, the submittal is what?
so the submittal is, it is this suggestions on providing recommendations to the legislature on transferring the administration of the council from DLNR to DAB. And these are the specific recommendations or the specific considerations, and the recommendation for action is that HISS adopt the recommendations discussed above and any others as appropriate for inclusion in the annual report to the legislature for the upcoming session.
Okay, just for the record, I think I asked for the submittal and I guess I just missed it. So
Okay.
no, this is the first time seeing the submittal.
Okay.
But as long as nothing in this recommendation is contrary to the law and just a recommendation to the law.
You're right.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
good with
I
that.
think I don't
You know,
think.
this
there's
is of
anything.
course in response to Rep Kahaloa's ask, we're saying, saying these are the things that, that the HISC, is suggesting that the legislature consider, in this next.
Yeah, I
upcoming
wasn't at
session.
that meeting and I'm sorry. I should check the minutes on it. Were the minutes on that meeting?
Yes, I think that was the one that was attached, the September one, right?
Yes,
Okay.
the one that got reformatted.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay,
And that doesn't preclude DAB from disagreeing and DAB from saying,
I got it.
we don't support
It's five
this.
of us.
Yeah, or even at the ledge, should Rep Kahaloa decide to proceed forward on some of these recommendations, there's nothing to preclude either DAB or DLNR to say, as our own department, we
Yeah,
oppose.
I know.
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah.
From the very beginning, I've always said, our job is to enforce the law. As long as we're enforcing the law and recommending changes to the law, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Okay?
Other questions for me? Happy Thanksgiving again.
Okay.
So, was it listed as an action item or not?
It is, it's a submittal. The recommendation is for the HISC to adopt the recommendations above, and any others that are appropriate. So the question is whether or not, these suggestions, all or, some, be submitted to the legislature essentially as suggestions for, possible legislation this coming session.
Okay, calling for the motion regarding the issue raised by the submittal.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, so moved and seconded that
But-
we,
Yeah, so the motion is to accept the staff's recommendation not to include CGAP's additional. comments.
correct. That's how I understand it.
Okay.
I mean, we, it's up to the council to decide whether or not the additional suggestions from DGAP be.
But that's not the motion and.
No, I'm just saying,
Okay.
it is up for the council to
Well,
decide
essentially
whether or
allowed to
not
get all
that's to
over us.
be added, to those 5 that are there. So,
Yeah. You want to restate the motion?
So as I understand, the motion is to accept staff's recommendation on the above reference, the five issues for consideration, to approve those.
Just the motion. Yeah, okay, thanks. I'm clear now. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Don. Calling for the vote. I think we'll go,
We'll do a roll call vote
Yeah,
with
roll
actual
call
people voting. Okay.
so we have, voting on the motion to approve or any recuse, or I can't say that now. Don, Dale Lennar,
Aye.
aye. Sharon Hurd, aye. Kathleen Ho, or DOH, Matt?
Aye. Aye, sorry, could you hear me?
We
can hear you.
Thank you, Matt. DOT, Dexter.
Aye.
DBET, Rachel.
Aye.
And UH, Phyllis.
Aye.
Okay, so the vote is unanimous to go with the motion to consider the recommendations. Okay,
So that will be up to HISC to carry that water
That's
to the
correct.
lakes, not either DAB or DLNR.
No,
correct.
Okay.
no,
Okay.
we will make these recommendations part of our legislative report. We actually have an existing legislative report and we can actually add it on as
Yeah.
legislative suggestions.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so looking at the agenda,
I think you have so quickly gone through everything.
well, I don't know about so quickly, but thank you very much, Don.
Yeah,
It's been a
yeah, that's
pleasure.
record time.
I think
Impressed.
with this meeting, we've met the mandate for the HISC quarterly meetings that we're required to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, so good job, Patrick. Good job, Chelsea. Shout out to Chelsea. And I understand her baby's name is going to be George,
Oh,
so
is that right?
baby
Did she-
George.
Did she have her baby?
Not yet, not
Not
yet.
yet. Okay, okay. I didn't know that. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
if there are any, comments from the public, and we've already heard from
Yeah.
everyone in the room, so.
I think so. I think we have it. Trinity, so calling for a motion to adjourn. I understand we don't need a motion, but
Oh,
it's formal, so.
okay. I move that we adjourn.
I
You
second.
second.
Let's just be consistent today. I second.
We've been a good team. We've
Yes.
been a good team. We've been-
Meeting is adjourned, Patrick, at what time,
Okay.
please?
It is 12,
No,
sorry,
2:15.
2:14.
Oh, my gosh.
2:14.
That is
Thank you,
record
everyone.